In October of 2016, I encountered what I believe to be an extraterrestrial inside my house. It was a normal Friday evening at first. I was in college and was living with my dad at the time. He had gone to sleep at about 10 p.m. and I stayed up until around midnight. I turned off my TV and went to lay on my bed, where I promptly pulled out my phone and began browsing Reddit. This lasted for about 45 minutes before I finally decided to go to sleep. I realized that my throat felt a little dry, so I got up to get some water from the fridge. My room used to be a second living room off the kitchen, so there's no door on the frame except for a thick curtain. As I approached the curtain, everything was normal. The only thing that seemed a little off was how quiet it was. No crickets or cicadas were chirping outside, which there always were. It was quite unusual since I live in a secluded country ranch house. I could still hear my dad's white noisemaker in his bedroom though. I pulled the curtain aside to step out into the kitchen and experience the single most terrifying thing in my entire life. Behind the curtain was what I believe to be an extraterrestrial. It was facing the hallway to my dad's room, and it was in a crouch position. We had a nightlight plugged in right above the kitchen countertop, so I assume it was trying to avoid that light. Its skin color was a sort of dark and metallic gray. As I pulled the curtain all the way back, the alien turned his head sharply to look at me. I gasped and was immediately overcome by an immense sense of dread and terror. I was quite literally paralyzed by fear. I just stood there with my hand on the curtain, mouth agape. It stared at me for a couple of seconds and then everything went black. I regained consciousness an hour later and was lying on top of my bed, the covers still made. My heart was pounding and it felt like it was beating 1,000,000 times a minute. I saw something on my left, which was the darkest part of my room, and had a door leading to our carport. Standing over my bed were 3 dark grey figures. They were tall, and their heads were nearly touching the 7-foot ceiling in my room. I turned my head, stared at them, and began to experience the same sense of terror as before. It was the exact same sense of dread and paralysis. I was unable to move, unable to speak, and unable to do anything except look. This time they looked at me for much longer than a couple of seconds. It felt like it lasted a full minute or more. At the end of that minute, the being in the middle leaned in a little bit and moved its hand toward my foot. It tapped its finger on my foot 3 times slowly. Each time it tapped, a strange sensation pulsed through my body. It was just a weird energy that I can't really describe. After the 3rd pulse subsided, the being stood straight again, and then everything went black again. I regained consciousness yet again a minute or 2 later. I was still on top of my bed, covers still made, and I immediately began to cry. I don't mean just a tear or 2, I mean that I was literally just bawling my eyes out for the next few minutes. Eventually, all that emotion subsided, and I grabbed my phone from my bedside table. It was almost 2 a.m. I didn't end up going to sleep at all that night. I just sort of sat there on my bed, trying to explain to myself what just happened. In the year since this has happened, I've yet to come up with an explanation that doesn't involve aliens, demons, ghosts, or some sort of paranormal phenomenon. I thought of sleep paralysis at first, but I never went to sleep before I saw the first one. I was wide awake still when I went to get a drink of water. I wasn't dreaming because I hadn't yet gone to sleep. When the 3 came right after I thought that, it could be sleep paralysis since I woke up on my bed and was unable to move or even scream when they looked at me. But how did I get in bed when the last thing I remember was looking at the first one in my kitchen? I know you hallucinate when experiencing sleep paralysis, but how did I see 3 distinct beings that essentially remained motionless, and what the hell was that sensation whenever it tapped my foot? If it was sleep paralysis, I've never had it before, and I haven't had it since. If it was some sort of spontaneous mental breakdown, I've never had one before and haven't had one since. If it was just some bad nightmare, when did I go from browsing Reddit and getting a drink of water to asleep and having a nightmare? Every time I think about it, I get an uneasy feeling just thinking about the dread I felt that night. It makes me feel squirmy and nervous. That night felt like death, but I don't know if whatever was in my house or whatever I imagined was malevolent. I don't know if they hurt me or did anything to me or my dad. I don't know if I was crazy, sleep-deprived, or actually encountered aliens in my house. I've seen and felt some strange things before and after, including lost time. I've also seen what I believe to be UFOs and animals on the ranch we live on being mutilated. The lost time thing was a little freaky. I was texting my brother about Fallout 4 in the middle of the morning. I was in the middle of a response, lying on the bed in my room when time seemed to skip. All of a sudden, I was sitting on the couch in the first living room opposite the kitchen to my bedroom. 7 whole hours had passed, and I didn't remember any of it. There were 2 texts from my brother about an hour apart, the first of which was him asking if I got his text, then the second was just a couple of question marks. I was confused and didn't really know what to do. The UFOs thing is self-explanatory. I've seen lights fly over my house in the night. There is an airport about an hour away, and I see planes on occasion. But these lights are always either too fast to be a plane, too slow to be a plane, or too quiet to be a low-flying helicopter. The animal mutilation thing is the saddest part for me. I have about 10 barn cats that I feed regularly. They keep away rattlesnakes and bugs and whatnot. Most of them are spayed or neutered and vaccinated, but new ones show up still and get pregnant somehow. Every so often, one of them gets killed by a mountain lion, stray dog, coyote, or by other cats. It's gruesome, but it happens. However, there have been a couple in the past few months that have made no sense, and all have been the same way. They would have a single cut down the middle of their bodies, running from their jaw all the way to their genitalia. The cut goes all the way through their sternum and everything. It's always perfectly straight, and none of their internal organs or anything is damaged. It's like someone took a razor or something and slit them. We found them on our driveway and the private road leading to our driveway. There's never any blood, and the cat is just dead on the ground, already in rigor mortis. It makes no sense, and it makes me sad because I've raised most of those cats since they were kittens. Your support means a lot to me. Please drop a like and subscribe to Eerie Echoes for more horror stories. As always, thank you for watching.